Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Leading Change Wednesday, where we talk about change, something we all deal with as Scrum Masters on a daily basis. And this week we have with us Bojan Smutia. Hey Bojan, welcome back.
Hey, hello Vasco, nice to be here again.
So Bojan, Wednesday is change leadership. I like to call it change leadership rather than change management, because we do need to be leaders in that process. It's not enough to manage the activities. We actually need to set the example and work with everybody that is necessary in order to bring it to a successful outcome, of course. But it can be any type of change. It could be a team level change, personal change, or of course an organizational change. So share one of those stories with us, Bojan, and walk us through the steps, like how the change process happened over time. And as you go through that, highlight for us the tools, the tips, the tricks, the techniques you learned back then that you still apply today.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the question. You already asked me the question about some of your failures, So I have a lot of failures in this area, but essentially I will at least try to bring some tools to the people listening here. Maybe they will prove them much more beneficial than mine. But generally, change is really tough. Let's go back to the Gandhi. You need to change first yourself and then to preach it to the others. So that is one thing I always tell any youngster Scrum Masters. Really, we are always in a change. Never expect to be in a situation that everything will be placed. Coming back to the story, usually it's connected to the biggest enterprise changes when there is some scaling framework employed. It is much easier when you are working as a Scrum Master in a one team. Team is, using any framework which we agree. Usually it is some derivation of Scrum, and we are surviving somehow. When you add complexity, one level, then second level, and second, you create a mess. And when the companies decide to implement some scaling framework, they usually, let's call it most popular, but maybe not most likable, is SAFe. Scaling framework, then there is a lot of change going on any level of company. And I will tell you with one story that practically that change was classical top down. Today, person is project manager working together with a team. Tomorrow, leadership announce that we are employing SAFe, we are bringing consultants, and they tell us all PMs are becoming Scrum Masters. And now we need to somehow facilitate that change from a person who used to be project manager to become Scrum Master, which is, let's say, not only on personal level to acquire some knowledge about soft skills, about how it is to be a servant leader, etc., but to find your place in such a new architecture of your team, and then to collaborate with other teams from that, let's say, softer position than usually project managers were. And I help people there, transfer to this, let's say, different mindset. It is least hard part, I would say. The hardest part is after you, let's say, accept this, where you will fit in the organization. Because, now you cannot tell anybody what to do, but still there are people up one level, which are so-called managers, as you said, still, which are feeling totally insecure. And they do not want to let, their powers to the teams. And they start telling former project managers, what to do and to transfer this to team. And that person is then, totally, in some mesh. On one side, leave the team decide. On the other side, having some higher level manager, telling what to do. And what happens? Well, conflicts are everywhere. Conflicts, missing deadlines, pretending that we understand, and nobody is brave enough, I would say, to call that we have elephant in the room. And that is one part which I am now talking mostly from the perspective of Agile coach, not of a Scrum Master, doing with other Scrum Master, is calling that elephant to walk in to show, himself. And by doing this, probably personally get a lot of critics, on my side. But I can sleep pretty sound because I helped a lot of those persons who are currently Scrum Masters, but were employed as product managers, and they tell me, thank you for doing this. At least now they know my pay, that is one thing. And the good thing in all those changes is, well, that they are changes, and they are not constant, but you will find somewhere your niche, your place in this, and you will, continue to work in some matter, but stressful they are, yeah.
Yeah. So that there's two big parts here in this change that I want to explore a little bit more. So we have the personal change, PMs becoming Scrum Masters, but also something that I have seen a lot, and I want to start there, which is this feeling of insecurity by middle managers. So managers who used to be maybe one or multiple team managers and now are basically told, like, you don't do anything with the teams anymore other than, approve vacations or whatever, because actually we have the product owner and the Scrum Master directly working with the team and managing the work with the team, not with you, right? And of course, these managers don't magically stop being asked to deliver, right? They are still asked to, hey, you deliver this and this and this by this deadline and so on. And they don't have any tools to do this, right? So this is one of the things I want to explore a little bit more with you, like based on your experience, maybe in this and other change processes. How did you learn to work with these middle managers to help them through this transition?
Exactly. Great question. And I totally agree. You can change the name of delivery manager to something else, or even, just say we are now in an organization and you are some, high priest or whatever you are called by that framework. That person falls to patterns which make him or her manager previously. Because we need really to have empathy. That is first thing for that person. Because if we say managers are enemies or managers are, some dinosaurs, well, they are not. Probably they became managers because they were great in what they were doing. That is usually how the people become manager. And how do you become manager? Because you deliver what you have promised usually. And you deliver this by some cost which was approved and by some specifications that were elicited before. And now you need to tell those people, relieve everything. You will be just enabler. You will enable, as you said, vacations. You will enable salaries. You will make here and here, some good word about something. If there is a conflict, which is usually never, in reality, that you need to put your managerial skills there, or just to do 1 year 360 survey or something else. That is everything you need to do, and everything other will be done by some other teams. But essentially, your position, your salary, and everything will be dependent on how the others are doing things. Well, definitely that lights really, really big red lamp in their head. And they are very clever people. And what they said, okay, I will do this, but I will monitor and watch every single step. But now we are going to that quantum paradox. Just by watching, you are changing the stuff.
And it's not just watching. Okay, watching is something that you can do more or less kind of without interfering, but being present.
Exactly.
Like everybody in the team knows that you are their manager. Of course, you're going to have an impact on how they behave.
By statute, just by being there, you have impact. And that is the biggest thing. And you said, how can you bring safety to managers? Well, that is the twofold. I always look at twofold. One is really Scrum Master and Agile coach can employ that biggest part of its function, which probably is always forgotten, to be a coach. Every single Scrum Master can be, and it is expected to be coach. And from the Agile coach, well, it's in your name, generally, of your job position. Coach that person. Let's see, what are your fears? What is frightening you? What I can help you to overcome this, really. Maybe they're, reasonable, maybe they're not, but let's bring it to the table, But on the other thing, really, there may be not a safe net below of those managers. Really, how can you say relinquish your, authority, but there is no safe net? And if the team fail, you will get fired or you will get reprimanded. So really, it's a top bottom. Not only that people need to have freedom on the bottom, but they need to have a safety net put from the people on the up. When you fail, that nothing happens, and that needs to be for the managers themselves, because usually they are not there. It's a shark world,
Absolutely. And
higher the goal, the biggest the jaws are.
Indeed. I like that metaphor. And it really is important for us to be able to create an understanding of the role of the manager, but also the safety. And safety doesn't mean that there are no consequences, but rather safety means that they have a say in things that affect them directly. Like, for example, the performance of the team. Like it would not be acceptable that we tell managers, well, you don't have any say on the performance of the team because, we have Scrum Master and product owner. Well, but then either the position doesn't exist, which is a reason for the insecurity. That's one of the reasons for the insecurity. Okay. Or the position exists and is also responsible for the performance of the team. Right. And I really like the approach by Deming, which is defining managers as the managers of the system. So creating the environment, the conditions necessary for the teams to perform. And if we look at it that way, Scrum Masters become helpers, become contributors for the success of the manager, right? By bringing up blockers, by discussing potential organizational impediments, by talking to the manager about things that the team might need but don't have right now, and so on and so forth.
Exactly. I totally agree. Usually managers in large corporations are people managers. But as you said, they shouldn't be people managers. And Scrum Master, that is one maybe thing that I really like that you said. One of the things that usually Scrum Masters could do, but are not doing, is to be a help in a process mapping. Maybe nobody learns them, and it is never written in a Scrum guide. I haven't seen it in any training for Scrum Masters, how to map a process, because you will always say, they are used by business specialists, consultants, etc. But honestly, if you want to be exquisite professional as a Scrum Master, learn how to map processes, how to conduct interviews. That is one thing really which is, I would say, trait of a Scrum Master if you want to be great.
Yeah, and that's a great example of where the managers have influence, how to shape the overall process, not the Scrum process, but everything before and after.
Any process, exactly. You're right.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that story, Bojan. Leading change is one of the core skills we must acquire, but it is only one of the steps towards our success as Scrum Masters. Tomorrow, on Success Thursday, we will talk about how to define success for the Scrum Master role. We'll cover tips on how to measure your way to that position, and most importantly, how to develop that focus on continuous improvement that is as important for Scrum Masters as it is for teams. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.